I am Professor Ramesh Babu, Department of Genetic Engineering, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. Today, the video lecture describes about research methodology, course code U18 PCGE 601, topic research methods for problem solving. The first step, we are going to discuss about quantitative research. What is quantitative research? It is about asking people for their opinion in a structured way so that we can produce hard facts and statistics for guidance. To get reliable statistical results, it is important to survey people in fairly large number and to make sure they are a representative sample of our target market. A formal objective systemic process in which numerical data are utilized to obtain information about the world. So this type of research is carried out as a survey type or in a medical field as a epidemiological study in which numerical values are critically analyzed in contrast to qualitative type of research. If you look at quantitative research, there are various types have been described in the literature. We are going to see only three types here. The first one is survey research, correlational research, experimental research. Survey research is one which involves kind of epidemiological studies in medical field. Correlation research, when you are trying to compare or correlate variables in your research study. And experimental research, which is typically performed in a biochemistry, microbiology, such kind of studies, where you are going to control your experiments under laboratory conditions. It can be performed even in vitro using animal cells or in vivo using living animals. So these are the three major types of quantitative research types have been described here. And what are the further strategies in quantitative research? Thinking critically about quantitative research. Is it experimental or non-experimental type of research work? That is one part. Next part is where control groups included in the study, where participants randomly assigned or not, where attempts made to control for extraneous variables. How were participants selected in this study? Were techniques used to reduce effects of bias? So these are some of the criteria needs to be considered in the quantitative type of research. And this flow chart describes about various steps to be followed in performing a quantitative type of research. Formulating the problem, defining decision variables and constraints, developing a suitable model, acquiring the input data, solving the model, validating the model, implementing the results. These are the various steps which are to be considered seriously when you are designing a research question or research hypothesis in your study. So for first step, formulating the problem, wherein you are going to highlight the importance of the hypothesis and how you are going to test the hypothesis using a suitable methodology is the first step. Defining decision variables and constraint using a suitable methods. Then, as I said, the suitable model in your animal study or in vitro cell culture study, which involves various steps in your protocol. Acquiring input data through computers, solving the model using critical analysis. And how will you validate the model of your study by comparing with other authors. Then implementing the result in the form of a research report or publications is the next step. Formulating the problem is the first step. It is necessary to clearly understand the problem situations. It is important to know how it is characterized and what is required to be determined. Initially, it is important to identify the key decision and the objective from the problem. Then it involves determination of the number of decision variables and the relationship between variables, the measurable quantities that are represented through these variables are notified. Finally, the practical limitations or constraints are also inferred from the problem. So the variables are the important parameters in your research studies. How will you compare the variables in your study and how many variables are there? What are the statistical methods you are going to use to analyze your results? These are some of the constraints you have to follow when you're formulating the problem. The next step is defining the decision variable and constraints. In a given problem situation, defining the key decision variables are important. Identifying these variables help us to develop a model. Next is developing a suitable model. It is a mathematical representation of a problem in the case of mathematical studies or some of the research studies which involves a lot of numerical data. Okay. The mathematical model is in the form of expressions and equations that replicate the problem. It enables us to identify the real situation by understanding the model. Next heading is acquiring the input data. For input values are essential in your research study. The data carries a very critical information of the entire study. Even though the model is a perfect representation of a reality, improper data will result in a misleading results. Okay, misleading results usually refers to false negative or false positive type of data. Collecting accurate data can be one of the most difficult steps in performing quantitative analysis. Next step is solving the model. Solving the model involves manipulating the models to arrive at the optimal solution. In some cases, this requires that an equation be solved for the best decision. In other cases, you can use a trial and error method, trying to various approaches and picking the one that results in the best solution. Next step is validating the model. A validation is a complete test of the model to confirm that it provides an accurate representation of the real problem. This helps us in determining how good and realistic the solution is. During the model validation process, inaccuracies can be rectified by taking corrective actions until the model is found to be fit. Then the last one is implementing the research. Whatever the findings you have observed, whatever the critical analysis of the results you have made, how will you implement the results? The final step to implement the result is the process of incorporating the solution into the final report of the company or your study. Even if the solution is optimal and will result in millions of dollars in additional profit in the case of corporate sectors. If managers resist the new solution, all of the efforts of the analysis are for no way. These are all studies are a way of representing the results in the corporate sector and our industrial sector. After the solution has been implemented, it should be closely monitored. Over time, there may be numerous changes that call for modification of the original solution. So we are coming to next part of some common problem solving techniques. So here you can see there are few headings like research, analogy, hypothesis testing, root cause analysis, modeling, the GROW method, and the 8 disciplines method. So some of the main solving techniques are mentioned here. In addition to that, there are two major things like problem concerning don't know responses, or use of percentage are the two main solving techniques to be considered. What is mean by don't know responses? If the survey type of study or in a epidemiological study, if a question is given to a participant, the participants may not be interested in answering a question. So he will simply answer, don't know. So while they're processing the data, the research often come across some responses that are difficult to handle. One category of such responses may be don't know responses or simply decay response. Okay. So in this case, concerned question is said to be all right, and the decay response is taken as a legitimate decay response. But in the second case, decay response is more likely to be a failure of the questioning process. Okay. So in the responses, it needs to be dealt by the researchers. The best way under such kind of responses is to design better type of questions. Good rapport of interviewers with respondents will result in minimizing decay type of responses. The other important aspects in a problem solving is representing your quantitative data in terms of a percentage. Percentages are often used in the data representation for the simplifying the numbers in your study, reducing all of them to 0 to 100%. Okay. Through the use of percentage, the data are reduced in the standard form with the base equal to the 100, which fact facilitate relatively comparisons. So these are two important points needs to be considered when you are trying to solve the problems. So decay responses, how to overcome these decay responses, to simplify your questionnaires, or to have a user-friendly participants in your study, and a percentage of calculation of your involvement in the data. So in the first step, if you look at the research, this method looks at what is already known about the written by others, in the hope that the problem may already be solved, or solutions to similar problems may indicate how this problem may be solved. Analogy. This method compares the problem of other problems with the known solutions, possibly in other fields, and it determines if aspects of these solutions can help in solving the problem. Hypothesis testing is very important. Assuming a possible explanation to the problem, trying to prove assumptions we have made are correct. Next is critical analysis of your results or data, which comes under root cause analysis. Initially, it's a reactive method of problem detection and solving. This means that the analysis is done after an event has occurred. By gaining expertise in RCA, that is root cause analysis, it becomes a proactive method. This means that RCA is able to forecast the possibility of an event even before it could occur. Modeling, which I described to you earlier, what are the models used in study? What are the critical analysis model to be used for data representation? In this method, a model of the problem is constructed. The behavior of the model is then compared to reality, and if the model behaves sufficiently close to reality, the model can be used to characterize and solve the problem. Next, the GROW method, which provides an effective structural framework in which using goal-driven methods to move the problem-solving process forwards. And finally, the 8 disciplines method, a structured method of approaching and executing problem solving commonly used in a qualitative assurance. We'll move on to next slide, which shows steps for quantitative research. Select the research design is the first step for quantitative type of research. Identify the population, select the sample, conduct a pilot study, collect the data, organize the data for analysis, and finally analyze the data. So all these steps needs to be seriously considered when you're trying to propose a research project or research study or for your experimental design for successful completion and representation of your results. In quantitative methods for problem solving, there are 4 steps needs to be considered. First one is surveys. Second, laboratory experiments. Third, formal methods such as econometrics. And fourth, numerical methods such as mathematical modeling. The quantitative research is explaining phenomena by collecting numerical data that we are analyzed using mathematically based methods, in particular statistics, which generates numerical data or information that can be converted into numbers. So here 4 steps have been described in quantitative methods. Next is the simple formula to solve problems involves 4-step processes, which involves number 1, analyze, number 2, plan, number 3, compute, number 4, evaluate. Analyze is the first step. You should read the problem carefully and then reread it. You must determine what specific information and data you are given in the problem and what you need to find. Try to visualize the situation the problem describes. Look closely at the words in the problem statement for clues to understanding the problem. Are you working with the elements? There are several questions you need to raise when you are analyzing. How, what, when, where. These are some of the types of questions are raised when you're designing a research hypothesis. Okay, so all these come under number 1, that is analyze. The next is plan. In the planning step, you develop a method to solve the problem. Always keep in mind what you want to find and its units. Chances are good that an approach that gives an answer with the correct units is the correct one to use. In any case, a step that gives an answer with the wrong units is name, date, class certain to be wrong. You may find it helpful to diagram your solution method. This process helps you organize your thoughts. As you work out your problem solving method, write down your trial calculation without numbers but with units. When you complete your step, see if the trial calculation will give you a quantity with the correct units. Okay. The third one is the compute. In this step, you follow your plan, set up a calculation using the data you have assembled, and compute the result. It is a good strategy to write out and check your calculation setup before you start working with your calculation, and lightly strike through the units that cancel. Be sure the remaining units are those that you want in your answer. Whenever possible, use your calculator in a way that lets you complete the entire problem. And then finally, you have the evaluate. Here, everyone makes error, but good problem solver always develop strategies to check their worth. Confidence your problem solving ability will come from knowing how to determine on your own whether your answers are correct. One evaluating strategy is to estimate the numerical value of the answer. In simple problems, you can probably do this in your head. Okay. With calculations having several terms, round off each numerical value to the nearest simple value. That is the simple technique to round off the numericals, and then write and compute the estimation. So that's about the fourth one, evaluating method for a problem solving. So we'll move on to next step in quantitative methods, which involves the variables, which involves numerical measurements, percentage or weight, size of a family in your research study. Then non-numerical measurements, positions on a scale indicating a level of agreement, example, Likert rating scale. Next, continuous data measurement that can in principle take any value within a certain range, example, time, age, and weight. Categorical data or discrete data, measurements that can take only known discrete values, example, the number of rooms in a house, the number of children in a family. So most of these variable studies can cover the survey type or epidemiological type of studies. Next one is the basic measures, which involves mean, standard deviation, variance, quartiles, range. And it is needless to say that all these belong to the statistical methods. And a mean, basically it's a measure of the central location or average of a set of a number. Standard deviation is the square root of the variance. Variance is a measure of the dispersion or spread of a set of a data calculated in a following way. Median is the center or middle number of a data set. Quartile divide the distribution of values into 4 equal parts. Range is a measure of the dispersion equal to the difference between the largest and the smallest value. Frequency distribution, it's a measure of a location and dispersion. It's a symmetrical if the difference between the mean and the median is 0. An appropriate pictorial representation of the data in the form of histogram, stem, and leaf diagram would produce a mirror image about the set. Then fifth one is probability testing and hypothesis statistical t-test, which shows the significance between the variables. So in genetic engineering or microbiology, biochemical assays, the statistical t-tests are very useful in finding the significance between the controls and variables in various experimental conditions. So in this diagram, you can see quantitative research process, various steps involved. Okay, problem and the purpose. What you need to identify what is the problem and what is the purpose of your study. In that, first one is hypothesis or developing a question. The literature survey is collecting the data or latest information available in various databases and resources. Then conceptual framework, study design, sampling. Sampling involves study size, the number of participants, the number of experimental conditions to be used. Then instrument availability in the research facility is one which has to be considered. Legal or ethical studies, if you are doing a human subjects or experimental setting up with animal subjects, such then legal or ethical issues needs to be taken into consideration. Data collection, data analysis, then discussion, summary, references, budget finding. Summary references, which references is very important because whatever the findings you have obtained, it is necessary that you have to compare your results or correlate your data with other research findings. Okay, then when you are proposing a project proposal for a funding, you have to specify the budget required for the funding, because there are so many funding agencies in government agencies, other institutions who can support research funding. Even the industries also can support small research funding. In that, you have to very carefully design the budget required and the expenses and time duration of the research study. Then we have statistical modeling. The t-test is very, very important in finding the significance of the your results or observations. So you have something like a single sample, and then you have what is so called as two unpaired samples, paired or unpaired. Such kind of analysis can be done using a t-test for hypothesis testing. Okay, so in survey type or other biochemical experimental studies, this kind of t biostatistics method is very useful. Then we have a method or type of analysis called a time series analysis. If you look at the economics or stock prices, day to day there is a variation in the stock market and the values of the companies. That the analysis of such kind of data is done by various tools. And here that comes as a category of time series analysis. And this is also applicable to the scientific research. If you look at the research involved in the genetic engineering and the expression of the certain proteins, certain genes, or amplification of the genes, RNA amplification, all these things can be done with a time series analysis, especially when you are doing some animal cell culture experiment, how long the drug stimulation is required to induce certain gene expression. And these are all the data depends upon the strict analysis of the sampling at various time points. Okay, when these samples were analyzed and how do you correlate one time point results with another time point results. So these things come under time series analysis. It's a method for analyzing data in order to extract meaningful statistics and other characteristics of the data. In a statistical method applied on time series data were originally developed mainly in econometrics and then used in many other fields such as ecology, physics, engineering, life sciences, etc. Next is the spectral analysis or a spectrum analysis. It is analysis in terms of spectrum of frequencies or related quantities such as energies. One of the most widely used methods for data analysis, geographic, ocean, atmospheric sciences, astronomy, oceanography, engineering. So you can see some of the examples of graphs of a time series analysis. And next one is the calculating the error in your research study. It's very, very important to analyze the errors in the study when you're setting up the experiment. Error analysis is a method used to document the errors that appear in a learner language, determine whether those errors are systematic, and if possible, explain what caused them. There are two main types of errors associated with an experimental research. They are referred as precision and accuracy. The precision is usually related to the random error distribution associated with a particular experiment or even with a particular type of experiment. For example, in the experiments where the measured parameters have intrinsically large variation between different samples. The accuracy is related to the existence of systemic error, for example, the incorrect calibration. So accepted value is the actual number measurement given to you. Measured value is the value you counted measured in your experiment. Remember, the numerator is a positive number. Next, multivariate analysis, a generic term for any statistical technique used to analyze data from more than one variable. Okay, and I have given an example in the table for a cancer and the expression of a cancer-related gene in the form of a multivariate analysis. Various genes are involved in expression of certain types of cancer, and it's a Cox regression analysis, and p-values have been used as one of the way to data interpretation in a multivariate analysis. And finally, genetic correlation and regression analysis, one useful method of analysis. It's to estimate relationship among variables, identifying genetic correlations between complex traits and diseases can provide etiological inputs and help prioritize likely causal relationship. To find out various relationship, these kind of genetic correlation and regression analysis have been applied here. Okay, with this we were able to discuss various methods in a quantitative methods for problem solving, some of the biostatistical tools used for data analysis, and we end the lecture here, and thank you.